Hello, my name is GameDog, and today I'll be going over a new Stamina Nightblade build that I've been working on for the past 2 months. It's a solo, small group play build that kind of relies on its own recovery, so don't put this into larger groups or maybe even smaller groups. I usually run about 2 people max or 3 because this recovery is really self-sustaining and you're not really built for group play like that. But for solo play, this is definitely a pretty stable build in my opinion. So I'll get right into the equipment. First we got 1 light, 1 heavy, and then the 5 medium as a basic setup here, just for the undaunted passives, which I can just show you here. For those of you who don't know what the undaunted passives do, they do add a bit of max stats to you, about 6% to everything, to your stam, magic, and health pool, if you wear one of each kind of armor piece. Yeah, so that's why I'm doing that, and that's basically for more health and more stamina. You could run 7 pieces of medium armor, even though it would be really risky. I did that on my last build, which worked out for the Templar because it was an Imperial and didn't have the extra health. But in this situation, I'd rather keep the 1, 2, 3, as you can see here. So for the armor, I'm using a proc set as my first. I know this is kind of the flex spot though. The heavy armor sets, the heavy and light armor I'm using for shoulder and head. And you can really use any monster helms you want in this spot. Right now I'm using Velendreth because that's more profitable as it seems right now. But we're nearing the end of this patch and I've not really read up on what's going to happen next. So you could really shift it out with whatever you want. If it's Bloodspawn, or it could be Selene, or I've even seen some people use some dot builds with Scoria and then shift this out with Vice Cannon or something, so you could do a lot of different things instead. But I'd suggest finding a good stable 2-piece monster set that you're really familiar with, and then use this flex spot here in combination with that. For the 5 pieces we got Eternal Hunt, which is mainly for this plate you make on the ground here. It's actually a little, makes this little spot where people walk into it and they'll get immobilized for a bit and they'll take about 8 to 9k damage from that thing alone. You see the poison tooltip is amazing. It's unbuffed at the moment, so really strong proc on that one, immobilizing them for 1.5 seconds. It really helps getting a lot of the heat off of you. If you have a lot of people following you and you want to get some of the heat off, you can really do some of the dodging here and they'll run into these spots. Even sometimes you can do a dodge and then throw Dawnbreaker or something like that to deal really just a crazy amount of burst. Get someone really low on health really fast without them noticing. You know, they're following you and they're in their own little mind, and suddenly you turn around and incapacitating strike and the poison proc from this thing here, and that usually splits people in half. Besides that, it adds a lot of recovery and max stats as well. By the way, for the traits, you want to hit as many of these impenetrable as you can. I have been really unlucky with my drops, and I do not like farming the monster dungeons there, so I really just settled with whatever I got on these 2 spots here. But do try to get as much impen as you can. I'm gonna go into the champion points later, but I'll just show you that I've even put something into resist here just to make up for the missing impen I had. So you should be around 2,000, 2,500. I've even seen some run with 3,000 and be really stable about that. For the next, we have the 3-piece here, which I'm using for agility, and I'm doing that because I have a Maelstrom 2-hander as my main weapon. If you don't have that, it might be worth swapping this out for something else, and then you could do a split between bow and 2-hander with like Clever Alchemist or something, and then use another set than Eternal Hunt for the jewelry. But in this situation I like to go with agility because I were lucky. Well, you can see how much I've farmed this. I was lucky to get what I wanted at last, and even a 2-handed mace. I'm actually quite happy for that one, since it's gonna improve the sharpened as well. It's gonna have a lot of penetration, so that's why I'm running the agility here. Gives a nice stamina boost, and then you got the weapon damage coming in as well. It's not really that expensive anymore. It used to be a lot more expensive, so it's definitely affordable as well. And then for the main weapon, it's the Maelstrom Mole, or whatever Maelstrom 2-hander I had gotten, and as I said, you can really switch this out as well. You can see for the bow, I'm just using a normal agility bow. I'm not even having any sets on this bow here at all. but it's where I keep my weapon enchant. So you want to make sure to have a weapon enchant on one of your bars at least, so that you can proc it, and then switch bars, or maybe you'll have it on your two-hander and then let it remain on the same bar. But I usually make sure to give a light attack or something off of my bow just to have a chance to proc it. And as you can see, I've actually been charging this quite a lot, so it does really proc sometimes and give you that extra damage that you can use. So that's the setup. I know some of this is really just hard to get sometimes, but if you can't get it, there's a lot of other opportunities. A lot of the new sets, not new anymore, they're pretty much everywhere by now, and I read the next patch you can even get some of these boxes in Cyrodiil quite much cheaper than you can now. But you can get most of the new sets here with jewelry, so you could really switch something out instead of Eternal Hunt and then use something else here for the jewelry, and then something else for the two-hander. But this is just how I've set it up, and how I feel like it works with what I have at the moment. Yeah, the food here, I'll just go over quickly. This is max health and max recovery food, and the reason I'm not using this here, which is max health and max stamina, is because I found that the recovery was actually helping me quite a lot more somehow. As you can see, it's 2,400 now, but when I drink a pod and I use this here, it actually goes up to quite a lot more than it was before, almost 3k. If you were wearing Bloodspawn, that would be 3k quite literally, which is way more than enough stamina to roll dodge and get some of the pressure off. You don't have a lot of health, and your burst is it's decent. I mean, the damage of the Nightblade is not really too bad, as you can see here. You can get 3,500 almost on the weapon, and that translates to about a 9k tooltip, depending on where you go from. I can even see if I can't get it to a 9k tooltip. There you go, 9.5, and if you sneak, it's going to be even higher than that from stealth, you know. It's going to be really good burst, so I don't feel I needed that extra stamina, really. And that's why I swapped to this, and I've been using it on my Templar as well. I've really grown quite fond of this, I must say. So, with that, I'll just show you the stats here. Don't mind the bounty, and don't even ask why I got it. That's for another day. Yeah, we basically got the stats here. We've got about 10k Magicka. I'm only using this for Fear and Cloak. So I feel comfortable with what I have here, even though the recovery is a bit low. I am a vampire, which does substitute a bit for the recovery and does give me a bit more stamina recovery as well, at the cost of my health recovery, which I don't really have a problem with. I'm just using vigor in rotations every 5 seconds, so I'm always keeping my vigor running, and you should do that as well. Learn some rotations and get the vigor going. You can do like some really nice burst combos and then roll out, get your vigor up, put the poison injection in, and just leap in with your ambush again and stuff. Really get some good rotations, and make sure that the vigor is always running. Like every time you take damage, you should pop your vigor and make it tick for that amount of time. It really helps when you got the rotations in place here. I forgot to feed my horse as well. Damn it. Well, so the stats look like this. We've got a base damage of 2,903. It's not 3k. It's not as high as it could have been, but the Maelstrom two-hander does help it a bit. The critical is not really the best either, but I do think this is enough for me. You can change it around as you want to. I'm running a Serpent Wonderstone. You could swap for something else, because the recovery, as you can see, is already pretty stable. So you could swap for something else if you feel like this is too much recovery, or... but again, this is just my approach to the Nightblade, and I don't think there's really a wrong way to do it, as long as you can manage, you know. It's really about your playstyle, how you prefer to play. Yeah, we've got some base resistances as well. We've got a lot of physical resistance and a bit more spell resistance. I don't know why I've got more spell resistance, but that's just how they look, and I think it's because of the one piece light, 1 piece heavy, and 1 piece medium, 5-piece medium, I mean. So from that we can just yeah, we've got vampirism, we've got serpent, got battle spirit. That's the PvP input you get. I'm on a different campaign, so I don't got any of these, different one than my main one, so I'm not getting any of these bonuses here. And then we got the food as well. So going on to the skills, I'll just show you what I'm using here. Let's start with the front bar. So first up we have Killer's Blade. This is my execute, and I like using this over Executioner or reverse slice, I think it's called. Yeah, reverse slice. This is a really good execute if you can hit multiple targets with it as well. Execution is good, but you see it's only 335% more, whereas this is 300 flat. Plus your deal, you splash the damage out to different to another nearby standing enemy maybe. I've tried to kill multiple people with this as well, and it's really good to use. But I feel more comfortable with Killer's Blade. Killer's Blade warns me when someone is low enough to get this written mist around them, and you actually heal for 21% of your health when you do hit someone, and that has saved my life quite a bit. Because sometimes when you go for the kill, you're low on health, and you manage to kill someone, but there's no reward for it. That's where this is going to change it. You're going to get better health, and you're going to get out of there. Note that the two-hander skill tree does give you some stamina recovery after killing a target. But seeing as my stamina recovery is already fine, I would go for this one instead here. But they really do a lot of the same. The base damages is basically the same. The cost here is a bit lower as well, so you don't need as much stamina to pull it off, which I like as well. So I'm really much more comfortable with this. Plus, I think that it feels more satisfying when you kill someone with Killer's Blade. So I like using this ability. This is a personal thing again. For the second ability, we have good old trusty surprise attack. Really just good spammable burst damage. Reduces the enemy's armor for almost 20 seconds. That's 17.3 seconds. That's a lot of time, whether you've reduced your enemy's armor. That, plus the fact that I'm wearing a two-handed mace and it's sharpened, you'll go through the enemy's armor clean. Really. And you can stun people from stealth, which is also good, of course. The cost is not very really that high for a spammable either, so really just a good basic ability. If you're playing a Stamina Nightblade, you should get this ability no matter what. It's really just, don't run without it. It's really, really good. It has one of the highest tooltip for spammables I've seen. So just really, really trusty and reliable. Ambushes our gap closer, stuns people for 2 seconds, empowers our next attack, and it's a teleport. It's not like the critical charge and critical rush or stampede or whatever you're using. You can really, you go directly to the target instead of traveling there. That sometimes bugs out and stuff. Plus you can really just tap target on someone and you can follow them around, pull them out of cloak and stuff with it. So really, really reliable. It does have a high cost, but I don't really mind it because of my recovery. So and the base damage is also pretty nice. Really, really good ability. For the next up, we've got Mass Hysteria. One of the hardest hitting stuns in this game. Reduces the enemy's movement speed, reduces their damage done, can hit up to 3 enemies, and they're stunned for 4.5 seconds, which is a long time. Plus it's Magicka cost, so I don't need to waste my stamina on it. I can use the 10k Magicka pool I have for that. And it's really just, it's one of the strongest hard-hitting stuns. You can't block it. You can't really do much. You can even, if you're dodge rolling and you get hit by Mass Hysteria, you're still getting stunned by it. So it'll fix your problem. One thing you need to note about this ability is that the range is only 6 meters. So if the enemy's out of range and you pop it too early or too slow, maybe you won't hit the person and you'll waste quite a lot of magic since it has a high cost. So make sure that you're up close when you do this. But you can use this and then follow it up by some really crazy attacks from surprise attack or incapacitating strike, and just deal a lot of burst while people can't do anything about it. And it also helps handle pressure when you can stun 3 enemies and make them deal less damage on you. So really, really good. Then we got Rally. This is our hard heal. I'm not using this as much as I'm using Vigor, but this I'm using this both for like Major Brutality, which is increasing our weapon damage for a mere 30 seconds, which is a long time. It's also giving me a little tick every 2 seconds, but when you use it and you wait long enough, you'll get this nice big fat heal that you can use whenever you're low on health. So I apply this when I'm in combat, and then when I'm getting in problems or low on health, I'll need to flee somewhere. Wait, someone took this. Okay, well, yeah. And I'll use it after that. After I've gone low on health. Let's say you're within execute range and you need something to get you up fast. This is the thing to get. But don't spam it. You won't get the full potential out of it. Use it once every like 10-15 seconds if you can. So save it until you really need it and then use it. For the next, oh yeah, we forgot Incapacitating Strike. This is one of the hardest hitting, lowest costing abilities ever. The base damage is really nice, almost 14,000. I don't think yeah, I am buffed with Major Brutality, but it's really strong. As you can see here, 12,000, almost 13,000 unbuffed. Stuns enemies for 4.5 seconds. Increasing my damage done against them by 20% for 6 seconds. Applies Major Defile, reduces the healing received. It's got everything, and it has a cost of only 50 ultimate. You can get this off with doing light attacks, and you'll have it charged almost always. It's like it's like this is not even an ultimate. It's like an ability on cooldown. You can use it almost always, and you can combine it with some really brutal combinations that is sure to keep at least one of your enemies dead for a long time. So really useful. Wouldn't go without it. Really aggressive as well. This build is really aggressive in itself, and Nightblades are in their own respect. So this helps being really aggressive. Just being up in someone's face at all times, pressuring them so much that they'll have to fall back. And when you can get that stun off, they're basically harmless. You'll have an open gap to do a lot of burst. So really useful. On the next bar here, we have the bow bar. We're using Poison Injection on our first slot here. This is our dot, like kind of execute dot. It really helps when people are getting low on health, that they'll have a harder time healing because of this thing here. Plus it deals a really good amount of damage. And you can apply it to someone before combat and just see the effects. As you can see here, it deals 260% more against people who are under 50% health. So already about 50% health, this thing starts taking effect. And it looks horrible. I've seen more people turn into globs of poison than I've actually seen dying by this thing almost. This is really useful. But you could slot this out with something else if you feel like you need it. I've actually tried in some group situations that I wanted to use Scatter Shot instead to pull people away from me. So this is also a flex spot. You can shift it out with what you want really. The same as this. You can shift it out with another execute. It's another flex spot, but I feel it's more safer on the solo aspect to use this here. So really low cost as well. I like this ability. Has a large range compared to a lot of the other abilities here. So only ranged really, which means that we can pressure people if they're far away. So they'll have to get close to us. And you don't want to get close to a Nightblade because then you're caught up in their face right where the Nightblade wants you to be. For the next ability we have Relentless Focus. This is buffing our base damage by 8% or stamina recovery by 10%, which is also why it's worth keeping up. But what it actually does is that on 4 light attacks or heavy attacks, you'll charge this Assassin's Scourge, if I'm reading it correctly, which fires a single shot from a spectral bow that deals 14,000 disease damage, which is the base tooltip. No buffs yet, so really deals a lot of damage. I use this sometimes just to charge it up and actually use it in combinations. I know that it's actually bugged this meta. I don't know why, but it seemed to be going off of someone's spell resistance instead or something like that. But next patch it's getting fixed, I heard. So this will be a major player in my opinion actually. And I like using it. I've seen the effects when you can pull off like, it's not going to deal 14,000 to an enemy, it's going to deal about 8k or something because of all the resistances and stuff. But an 8k damage proc like this to the face is really hard for some people, especially if they're not prepared for it. You can follow this up by a poison injection and then a leap, and that can pretty much do it. You don't even need to do more than that. So really good. It's a buff that you'll apply when you need it, and I always have it on. Again, magic at cost. You don't need to concern yourself with your stamina pool here. Then we've got Shuffle. This is another buff, grants us major evasion and the dodge chance of 20% for 23 seconds. And it also gives us immunity to snares and mobilizations for 5 seconds, which is why I'm using this morph of it and not the other, because it gives you this immunity. If someone puts a snare on you, for the next 5 seconds after you've used this, you use this to get out of snares. So for the next 5 seconds you've used this, you won't be able to get snared the same way. Even though gap closers will still get on you and stuff, it'll help you out of tight spots very quickly. and it's definitely an ability worth running if you're running 5-piece medium. If you're running 5-piece heavy, you should consider something else. I think you could use it just to get out of the situation, but you wouldn't get the immunity off of it. But you can do as you please, really. But on a medium armor build, this is essential. Really great ability. For the next one, we got Resolving Vigor. This is our main heal. I'm using this the most. I am almost spamming it. As I said, using it in rotations, getting the full heal out of it. As soon as I get damaged, I'll apply this and keep it running until I'm low enough to use this here again. So you're shifting between your main heal and your secondary heal, which is what I call the hard heal, because it's gaining you the bigger heal than this here, which it's an overtime heal. It's for over 5 seconds, so you need to take account of that. The reaction of Vigor doesn't happen immediately. When I started playing Stamina Nightblade, or Stamina Templar for that sake, I realized this quite fast, that you need to keep yourself in motion. You know, dodge rolling and using Vigor is not a bad idea, but you don't want to just stand around and use it a couple of times. You really want to make sure you don't get hit, so the ticks they count. Because it's not an immediate heal, it happens over time, and you do need to take care of that. But it's really good. It's one of the strongest stam heals, if not the strongest stam heals, and you can get it on pretty much every build or class. So really nice. It has a higher cost, I think. No, it hasn't. It's actually cheaper. Well, what do I know? Really basic. Should have it. I'm using it on my back bar because I do it in rotations, as I said. So I'll swap to my back bar, use it once, swap to my front bar, do whatever I need to do here, and then back to the back bar and proc it if I need it again. For the last ability, we have Shadowy Disguise. This is a cloak. I'm using this morph because it gives me the crit I need. My critical is quite low, as you saw here. It's only about 40%. So this will help me deal a critical strike whenever I need it. I can go into Cloak and then fire Relentless Focus, for example, or go into Cloak and get my Dawnbreaker ready. I'll get into Dawnbreaker in a moment. I know this is kind of strange. Why is Dawnbreaker on my back bar? Why is it on my bow bar for that matter? This is not my physical bar, so I'll get into it in a moment. But first, your Shadowy Disguise keeps you hidden or invisible here for about 3 seconds, and then for the next 3 seconds you get a critical strike. A free critical strike, basically. It will always be a critical strike. The other morphs give you a bit more resistance. I think it's about 8% less damage taken when you get out Cloak, but I don't feel like it was too helpful. Even though Cloak is one of those abilities that tends to be a bit broken sometimes. People can easily break Cloak. That's why I want to use it combined with a roll dodge or something. You want to get distance and then use it. You don't want to stand in someone's face and use it because they can pull you out quite easily. A lot of people who are using regular gap closes, could be Stampede, could be Ambush, they can pull you out of Cloak very easily. So Cloak is very fragile. Use it carefully. And don't spam it because it has a high cost and it's going to drain your magic pool. You can see here, just one of the 1, 2, 3, and you're out. So you don't got that much. You can't use this that much. So use it very carefully when you do. For the last ability, I have Dawnbreaker. Why do I have Dawnbreaker and not something like Soul Teller here? I could use that instead. Or I could use Meteor. I've seen some people do that, which is actually a good idea because Shooting Star, well, I don't even got the major skill on this character, but Shooting Star gives you ultimate per enemy hit, so you can actually use Shooting Star in a combination with an Incapacitating Strike, because Incapacitating Strike has such a low cost. But I'm using Dawnbreaker because sometimes when I'm under a lot of pressure and I have people following me or something, or if I see the chance of hitting 2 people instead of 1 and I do have the ultimate for it, there's no reason not to use this here. It has a higher tooltip than Incap, and it knocks down everyone in the area, everyone who's standing in front of you. So plus it has a damage overtime coming after that. You're using Dawnbreaker of Smite here and not the other morph, because the other morph would grant you 5% more damage. But you need to remember this is on my back bar, so I don't really need that. I'm not going to spend as much time here as I'm going to spend here. And we're just using this because it also gives that dot over 5 seconds, that's 13,000 damage there, which is really handy. So those were my skills. I'll go into the champion points now. So let's start here with the tower. I have everything into Warlord. Yeah. I like my cheap abilities. I've already got enough recovery, so I didn't need too much here actually. I've got 57 into Mooncalf. It's still quite a good amount. Get 16.9% more recovery out of that. And then I've got 30 into Shadow, into Tumbling here. I've always got 30 into Tumbling. I don't know why. It's just how I work. I feel like the 8.5% is enough for me as it seems right now. So this is how I've split it here in the green areas. Let's go to the red here. We can start with the lady. I've got nothing into the Lord. If you're playing in groups more than solo, you could spend 10 points because that's going to make you take less damage when you resurrect another player. It's going to help you. I would usually pick a quick recovery just for some efficiency in your healing. Damn it. And then we got a lady, we got Hardy and Elemental Defender, 55 points in each, and Thick-Skinned. Thick-Skinned is reducing the damage you take from damage over time effects, which you can't really get rid of. You used to be able to cloak these dots, but like cleanse them by cloaking, but you can't do that anymore, and some of them will even pull you out of stealth, so I've made sure I got a little bit less damage from those. Then we got Hardy, which is basically all the physical damage and poison and disease, and we got Elemental Defender, which reduces our damage taken from all the Frost, Flame, Shock, Magic. If you feel like there's too many stamina builds in this meta, which there, in my opinion, are, there's a lot of people who are playing these proc sets and stuff, and I know it's coming to an end. I hope it is. You could put some more points into here, but you do need to take care of the occasional sorcerer or Templar who comes in your face. They'll deal some of this damage here, and you'll need to be protected against that as well. And by putting 140 points into this, you do also get all these passives here. I don't really look at them too much, but I know that the Unchained is one of my favorites, at least. Reduces the stamina cost of abilities by 80% for 3 seconds after being like breaking free from knockdown or any other stun really. So you do get this as well out of it, which is really handy if you got a really high costing ability. I've seen some people use this in combination with caltrops and stuff if you're running in groups, but I really like using this as well, because when you CC break, you usually don't have the most stamina. Let's say you're already into a fight, you've been fighting for like 20-30 seconds, so you're already good low on your stats. You don't want to waste more, so this is really a good passive here on these. And then I've got everything into resist, the rest into resist really, just to make up for that. For that crit resistance I don't have because I got 2 of my monster sets in different traits. I have really bad luck sometimes. This also gives you some passives here. I don't really... Well, this is good actually. I dodge roll a lot, so yeah, you get that phase. Really good, go for that. Next up we have Ritual. We're on the blue line here. I've got 100 into Mighty, increasing all our damage basically. We have physical and poison and disease damage, so everything gets increased by this thing here. So 100 points into that definitely. We've got 15 into Piercing. We don't have the most crit, but I do put more into critical precise strikes here to get more out of my healing and my weapon crits. This works for Vigor as well, so your Vigor crits will heal you for more if you put points into this here, which is why I've done as I have. Plus that when you cloak again, I get a free crit that I can place wherever I want, and this is gonna increase the damage of that action there. And then we got Thermaturge. This is basically for my dot. I have Dawnbreaker. I'm using Poison Injection. It's gonna deal a bit more damage, about 6.6%. But you can really, these 3 here, you can place them as you want to. This is just how I've set it up. Again, this is another flex spot. This is just definitely something you want to go for if you're playing Stamina. Nothing into Atronach here. We got the Apprentice for the last points into Blessed. I did this just to get this here, who I know, and then to get the extra heal, the 5% extra efficiency of my healing done, which helps both my Vigor and my Rally. So that's it for the build. I hope you liked. Please like, and I'll see you guys. Please like and comment, and I'll see you guys next time.